Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another GT7 video. Taking on the new Daily Race C that is live this week at Nürburgring GP in Group 3. I'm going from the back of the grid as you can see here. We've got some other big content creators in this race, including Super GT there in P3. Also Flash just ahead of him, slightly smaller creator that not everyone is going to know about, but make sure you check out his channel as well. He also does Gran Turismo content. So we're starting from the back in P13. We've got other people in here as well, including Rory there, just a little bit further back from Super GT. And we're going to go and see how far we can get up this field. So starting from P13, going into turn 1, a little bit of chaos there. We're going to take advantage of this through the middle of them two cars. Now we get the inside line on the Lamborghini here. It doesn't give us much space, but we managed to get the car through there. And a pretty solid start straight up to P9. So gaining quite a few positions nice and early is always an advantage, especially when you're going for the strategy that I am doing in this race, where we're not going to change tyres. We're going to go in the pits on lap 1, don't change tyres, and hopefully get some clean air. Now, we had just come from Daily Race B. We've done about 3 races on Daily Race B in the Mazda. Now, anyone who's done this will know that when you've driven that Mazda with the front-wheel drive, it drives a little bit different to the Group 3 cars. It takes a little bit of warming up. So my pace on these first 3 or 4 laps was not particularly great. However, the GTR is a good car, and we will get our pace towards the end, as you're going to see. So working our way here now, we're catching up to P8, and we know what strategy we're going on. We're going to go in that pits on the end of this lap. But what we need to do now is try and keep it smooth, try not to make too many mistakes, just while we're trying to get used to this car, and see if we can get as close as we can to P8, and then hopefully they're not going to go in the pits in front of us. Now, this is the thing with this strategy. If some of these cars also do the same strategy as you, it's going to hold you up, but you've just got to hope that you're doing a bit of a different strategy to them, and you're going to gain big time. We can see behind us there, we got not Consta as well. That is not Consta, just in case you were not sure. That is not Consta, that is Costas. Also a very, very fast driver on this track. He's in the BMW, and he's probably going to be going for the tyre change strategy. We know that because I think he was suffering a little bit with the tyres compared to the GTR. So we're in the pits now, and we can see behind us we've got another GTR going in the pits also. That is Deed that's pitted behind us, a quick driver also, and probably doing the same strategy as me. No tyre change, straight out and trying to get some clean air. Now we can see the gap's around 1.5, 1.6 seconds, and we know we're going to have to try and get this speed up. Now we kept making a few little mistakes on these first few laps and just getting things a little bit wrong, but we can see in front of us there we've got Jam Bar FC in front of them. We've got a yellow flag out in front of us here. So as we come through here, we're going to notice that I think it's Rory has lost control. Now I'm not sure he realised, but he was right in the middle of the racing line there, and luckily the car was ghosted. I don't think he realised when he was rejoining that we were coming through there, so I think he just panicked a bit and probably just didn't realise he was on the racing line. So no harm done, luckily we got through, and now we're going to chase after Jam there in P12. And you can see the gap is around 2.6 seconds, and by the end of the lap we've got that down to pretty much half a second. So we know we need to get past this car quite quickly because we're clearly quite a bit faster to gain that time on him. So going out of the exit of the final corner, you can see we've got the slipstream here. Now in the slipstream we are able to stay with the Genesis. Now it is a little bit slower on the top end, so you can actually stay with it and actually go for moves. So into the braking zone, we're going to brake as late as we can, and you can see there, thankfully Jam is just going to let us through there. He obviously understands that he's in a bit of a different race. He hasn't pitted yet, so the best strategy for him is not to fight too much and just concentrate on his own race and not lose time, which is something I always try and promote, because if he fights us, he loses time on his race. We've already pitted, so we're going to finish ahead anyway. So it's a really good strategy just to not waste too much time when you're fighting other drivers. It makes a lot of sense, and it's actually worked out probably better for him as well, because he's then not going to lose time battling a battle that he's not actually in. So we're going to skip through now. Fast forward as we're catching up to P10. You can see there the gap is coming down slowly there, down to 2 seconds now, under 2 seconds now, and now about 1.7, 1.6. You can see we're gaining pretty quickly all the way through this lap. You can see on the exits of the corners, that's where we're mainly gaining through some of the faster paced corners. And by this point on the lap, we're pretty much half a second behind him. So that shows you how much we gained on him there just in half a lap pretty much. And we can see we're getting into that slipstream of the course. Now as we come up to the chicane, we're coming up to the pit stop phase if people are going to change tyres. So some people will do it on lap 4, so then they've got the lighter fuel for the last 6 laps. Tyres will last better. And as we come through here, the Porsche goes a little bit wide. That gives us the inside line there, and perfectly for us, absolutely perfectly, the Lamborghini goes off into the pit. So we get past the Porsche. We lost a bit of time on the exit obviously because we had to take a weird line, but we get them 2 cars done in one corner without losing any time on this lap. So although not a particularly fast lap, 55.5, it is fast enough to keep the momentum going, and you know, we're still gaining on some of the cars ahead of us. And we can see there, we got Flash still in P2, Super GT in P3, and not Consta. That is Costas in P4. Now we know that, like I said, Costas is probably going to change his tyres and be very quick towards the end of the race. But we're not sure what other strategies other people are doing as we come into the end of lap 5. We can see that Flash is into the pits, so is Costas, and they're going to be obviously changing their tyres. But we see Super GT is staying out, so he's clearly on a bit of a different strategy and going for possibly a no tyre change strategy in the M6, which I don't think is quite as strong at doing that as the GTR. And we can see the gap is around 17.7 seconds there as we start the lap 6 now. And we've come out, you can see as we go through the finish line, we've got Deed still right behind us. You might have noticed in the mirror as well, just under a second behind us. He's staying with us all the way here, but we can see that gap, 17.5 seconds there to Super GT on lap 6. And we're going to see if we can get as close as we can. We know that he's not going to change tyres, and the pit lane loss should be around about 17 to 18 seconds, I think, without a tyre change. So we know that we've just got to keep gaining. You can see another few attempts out of him there, and you can see in the corners now at this stage of the race, the GTR. The great thing about the GTR is, even though the telemetry shows you tyre wear going down, the tyres actually feel pretty fresh still, so you can still push them quite aggressively and do some pretty good times. You can see on lap 5 we actually did our personal best, and as we come through here, you're going to see we're on a pretty decent lap as we come through here. Another, just only a 10th off our previous best lap, but we can see we still have Deed right behind us there, and we know we can't afford to make any mistakes. Just got to keep it smooth. We don't want to overdrive it, because I felt like we could hold the car behind at around 1 second. He's going to get a little bit of dirty air from our car, and as long as don't overdrive it, keep it smooth, he shouldn't really be able to get too close to us. We can see Flash in the background also with a fresh set of tyres, but I do know that this GTR, even on these tyres, is probably a little bit better in race conditions, especially with a setup. Flash was running default setup on the Porsche, which is probably a good car to run if you don't want to be doing setups, because it runs quite nicely on the default setup. But we do know the Genesis is going to become an extremely strong car in this week's daily race. I can tell you that because I've used it. It's very quick. I've got a lap to show you after this in the time trial with the setup that I used in that as well. So hopefully you can get a bit faster after watching that. But we can see on this lap 6 here, we're going to go with our personal best lap of the race. And that shows you what I'm talking about with the early laps not being the greatest, as we were getting a little warmed up. And then as we come to the end of lap 7, we can see P1 and P2 are going into the pits. So Super GT is into the pits, and we've managed to get that gap around 15 seconds. So in theory, we should be ahead now as we go over the start finishing line and start lap 8. So going down the main straight, we can see Steve just coming out now because it's just popped up. So he should be just leaving the pit exit there, and we are ahead. So we're comfortably ahead by about 2 seconds, which is great for us because he's also not changed his tyres. So as long as we keep this car on the track and don't overdrive it, we should have a solid P2 here. Now, I don't know whether P1 has changed his tyres or whether he's on what strategy he's doing, because he should have been quite a bit ahead of me. However, he's only just in front of us by a couple of seconds. So I'm not sure if he's changed his tyres there and gone for fresh tyres for the last few laps. I really don't know what he's done, but there's no point us overdriving at this stage of the race because we've only got, what, 3 laps to go, and he's nearly 3 seconds ahead. So I just took this fairly easy because I didn't want to make a mistake and lose this P2 in this race, because it's a pretty decent race so far. We've managed to get ourselves all the way up to P2, and by the end of lap 9, you can see there Deed's still in our mirror there, 1 second behind us. And as we come up to the chicane, keep your eye on the mirror here. He hits the curb ever so slightly wrong, and you can see a little snap on that GTR, and that's going to cost him a little bit of time, and he's down to 2.2 behind us now. So all I have to do now for this final lap, as we're 2.6, 2.7 behind the leader, is just keep it nice and smooth. You can see actually on lap 9, again, 55.4. It really does show you how good this car is on tyres. However, on the final lap, we didn't push one little bit. I just kept it nice and smooth. Took it nice and easy, took no risks here, over the chicane, and yeah, just made sure that we got it to the finishing line without any incidents. And yeah, a pretty solid run there from the back of the grid, P13 to P2, with some pretty decent drivers. I mean, we got Super GT is a very good driver now. I think Super GT had only done 2 races on this race, so that it was only his second race, and I don't think the setup was particularly great that he was running on that M6. So yeah, I expected him to go a lot faster if he was going to race again. But we can see here, this is a setup I was racing on the Nissan GTR there. If you want to use that for the race, feel free to give it a go. Screenshot that and try it out with the Nissan GTR for race. It's a pretty solid setup, especially towards the end of the race. This is the lap we did with the Genesis. So going into turn 1, you want to be braking just on the tarmac on the left there, just before the 100 board. Use first gear for the rotation, then back up to second gear as you get onto the apex. and then into this left-hand corner. You want to take kind of a narrow line, but use third gear as soon as you put the power down. You see how it goes straight into third gear. Use that third gear, and then brake before the end of the Astro on the right-hand side, and try and hug a very tight line through it. Get the left-hand tyre up onto that cobblestone, and then third gear before you hit the apex to power out of this corner. Now, be very careful there. You can easily lose control. Into the next braking zone. Again, we're going to use the sprint layout, braking just before the end of that, and third gear into this corner, and then down to second gear for rotation. Now just wait, and then into third gear again for the acceleration of the exit of the corner. So third gear very, very strong in this car for using for acceleration. And now into the hairpin. Again, a little bit of grey tarmac on the left, brake just past that. And again, second gear, try and take a tighter line as you can through this corner, and then use second gear to accelerate out up into third gear. Now you can do this corner completely flat out if you get it right in the Genesis. You can see I give a tiniest little lift there because I felt a bit of understeer kicking in, but it was only a gentle lift, maybe lost half a tenth there. And then into the next braking zone, braking just before the 100 board on the right hand side, down into third gear. Use some of the green Astro on the left for rotation, and then again this corner, to be patient on the throttle here, because if you're too early you'll run into the gravel. But you do want to use some of that green Astro for extra width for the track to get better exit out of the corner. Now into the chicane. Now you really have to attack this chicane, braking just before the 100 board on the right hand side. You're really going to jump in and attack it into second gear. So over the first part of the curve, use the bollard as your target for going straight over the middle on the second part. And now into the final corner, down into second gear. Just be very, very patient before you put the foot down in third gear. See how I did like 70% throttle? If you go 100%, you'll just run wide or spin the car. And we go over the line for a 53.4, which is a pretty solid run round there. And I'm going to show you the setup that I used for that lap here. So these are the sector splits that we did. If anyone wants to take note of them, you can check the sectors against your own. And you can also chase my Ghost, because I think it's still available on the leaderboard as a ghosted car. So go into the detailed settings. Again, pretty similar to the GTR. Difference is anti-roll bars on 1010, and you can see the frequency. You can't go as low on the Genesis as you can on the GTR. Also, the damping ratio compression is 20/20 instead of 25/25. But you can see differential settings identical. That is how you generally run the FR cars, on the differential settings, and you should be good with them settings with most cars. But yeah, hopefully that setup will help you out. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment section. Feel free to get subscribed, and I'll see you for more videos in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.